Hi everyone, and welcome back to Story of the World Highlights. Today we'll be discussing Chapter 26. Chapter 26 takes us back to America, and in this time, it's the Roaring Twenties. So life after World War I was pretty grand for people in America. People were thriving financially and in a lot of other ways. We saw a surplus of food supplies. We saw an increase in literacy levels, so the amount that people could read, the percentages. We also saw the invention of skyscrapers, and many musicals were out and premiering on Broadway. People had something to sing for. They also had something to dance for. We saw dance marathons becoming very popularized during this time, where people would try and keep dancing for 24 hours without dropping. We even saw the beginning of the American Academy Awards for film, or the Oscars. And we even saw the start of the Miss America pageant, which is still happening today. These were not the only things that were coming out of this time of financial success in America. We also saw the increase in something known as the stock market. So as we've heard before, the stock market is when a company sells off a piece of its ownership to different people for money. Those people own a piece in that company, and if that company does well, the people earn more money. If the company does poorly, people lose money. So people were really into this way of making money, and people were making lots of money off of it too. They were making so much money off of it that everyone was dying to buy stock, even if they didn't have the money to be doing so. A lot of people during this time took out loans at the bank just to buy stocks, knowing that they would surely go up again and they would pay their debt back soon. And with this, the companies, they said, oh my gosh, everyone's buying stocks. We need more companies so people can buy more stocks. But the thing was, people didn't want to buy more stocks. People wanted to keep the stocks they had and wanted to see their stocks do well. And so when we have more companies than we have buyers of stocks, we have a lot of supply and not a lot of demand. And when this happens, the value of the supply, or in this case, company stocks, goes down. And when investors see their money start to drop, they are quick to try and take their money out so it doesn't drop any further. And unfortunately, on October 29th, 1929, everyone took out their money on the same day. And we saw a crash of the stock market. This crash became known as Black Tuesday because it happened on a Tuesday in 1929. And we saw all of the stocks immediately drop. This led to something known as the Great Depression. Now, this stock market crash led to the loss of $14 billion and a lot of people who could not pay off those loans. Remember, some were taking out loans to buy stocks, and now they didn't have stocks or money to pay back loans. So with this, you would think things were pretty bad, but unfortunately, they only got worse for Americans. At the same time as this Great Depression in the 30s, we saw a big natural event known as the Dust Bowl. The Dust Bowl was when extreme drought struck in the middle regions of the North Americas. This area in the middle regions is known as the Great Plains. And we call it Great Plains because there's lots of flat land out there. Now, with these Great Plains seeing drought, we saw lots of farms not doing well and farmers going bankrupt and losing money because they could not produce crops. We also saw the amount of dust that would get blown up because the ground was so dry. During windy moments, the dust would just get blown up into clouds of dust that would spread everywhere to the point you couldn't see, to the point that even if you covered your doors perfectly, it would still somehow get into the house. And these were just not conditions people could live in. So people in the Great Plains moved in the hundreds to California on the West Coast. And these people became nicknamed the Okies, because a great deal of them were from the middle America state of Oklahoma, right above Texas. Now, you're probably wondering, what is the government going to do about this? Well, the president at the time was President Hoover, and he thought that he might find a kind of program to help everybody. So he created the RFC. But this program, which was supposed to help give money to people so that they could have money again and food, it didn't really work. It didn't make much of a difference. And the people were desperate for something to end this misery. And in stops FDR, or President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He became a very prominent figure because he was proposing something known as the New Deal. And in this New Deal, he said that what people really need is they need more jobs in America. And we needed more bank regulations to make sure this event didn't happen again. So with that, he created multiple organizations through the government that were looking to hire. Some of these organizations were the CCP, the WPA, and the AAA. These associations were all around helping with farm regulations, with helping make sure that there was different associations for different parts of American life that needed to be regulated. And so now people are starting to see jobs. And when you have jobs, you can make money. And when you have money, you can spend it. And then the economy picks back up. So this bunch of new acronyms for these different associations became a nickname called America's Alphabet Soup from all the different letters you see. Now, luckily for FDR and the people of America, his New Deal did indeed work. Very slowly, but it did. And that is where we leave America in this chapter. The second part of this chapter moves us to Germany and the effects of what happened in America on Europe. So when America was thriving in the 1920s, they were spending their money like crazy, especially in Europe. They were going on trips to Europe. They were buying European goods. Lots of money was getting pushed into Europe and in Germany. But when Americans suddenly had no money, Europe saw a great loss of income. So they too started to have no money. This really impacted Germany most of all because Germany, while feeling these effects of the Great Depression in America, also were suffering because of their crushing reparations debt that they owed in World War I. Remember, we've talked about their $32 billion debt that they owed to the Allied countries. So with no money and continuing worse financial status due to the Great Depression, Germany started to fail. Businesses got shut down. People would have to bring wagons full of money just to buy a loaf of bread. It was desperate times in Germany, and the people were having enough. In step, young Austrian Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler was a young Austrian who had fought for Germany in World War I. He thought that the German cause was a noble one. He thought Germany deserved to be on top. He saw Germany and all it could be, and all that it should spread to the rest of the world. So when Germany lost and the people in Germany started to lose drive and motivation in fighting this war, he thought that the world had turned upside down. How could anybody not want to fight for the German cause? How could Germany have lost? He needed someone to blame, and he chose to blame the Jews. You see, the Jewish population had been feared and hated throughout Europe for a long time by Christians who didn't understand Jewish culture and Jewish religion. So when you don't understand things, sometimes you fear what you don't understand. And that unfortunately led to discrimination against the Jewish population known as anti-Semitism. And these anti-Semites would always blame Jews for everything. And Adolf Hitler joined those ranks. Adolf Hitler at the same time was joining a new party that was forming, known as the National Socialist Party, or Nazi for short. This party wanted to do the similar things that happened in Russia, with having the working people and the poor people actually having a say, or theoretically having a say, in what was happening in politics. And with the people suffering so greatly, they were looking for somebody to save them. And this message that it wasn't their fault, that it was the fault of the Jewish people, and that Hitler could not only fix that problem, but he could fix their living conditions significantly, which meant getting rid of that war debt. He promised them everything, and they were hypnotized. They fell in love with him. And when elections came around in 1932, we saw over a third of Germans vote for Hitler. Hitler and the Nazi Party gained power, and Hitler became the German Chancellor. That's the end of the rise of Hitler. In future chapters, we'll continue to talk about more about Hitler and World War II. I'll see you next time for Story of the World Highlights. Bye-bye.